All right, let's just continue. Let me introduce myself once again. As almost we have some students who attended yesterday as well, but still, I'm Divya. I have about 7+ years of experience, actually 8+ years of experience into data analytics. I completed my master's in data science, and I'm currently working as a senior data analyst in one of the MNCs in Hyderabad itself. So I have experience in teaching. I'm working almost from I'm having 4+ years of experience as an online trainer, and I have experience in teaching subjects like SQL, Tableau, Power BI, Python, statistics, and machine learning. So this is about me. With DurgaSoft, I'm working for SQL and Tableau. So in SQL, we are using MySQL tool. Okay. So let me just continue. Yesterday, I just gave a small introduction about what is SQL, what is database, and what is the need of data. Basically, we mostly discussed yesterday about the need of data, how the data is, how we are generating data a lot, and by using all the applications, how the data is getting generated, and because of that usage of data, importance of data only, obviously we are using databases, correct? So in today's class, I will just again tell you the what is database and what is SQL, and let's just continue with MySQL workbench today. Okay. So let's do one thing. I will show you today the user interface of MySQL. First, before that, let me again tell you for any new students that we know SQL in the sense, obviously, the full form is structured query language, right? And what is the difference between SQL and MySQL in the sense? SQL is a language which we will use to communicate with the databases. Okay. Database is nothing but the place where we will store the data. Okay. I can say the technical definition of database is collection of data, and I can say where we will store the data collectively. That is nothing but a database, right? SQL, we all know the full form of SQL, that is structured query language. But the definition of SQL is a language which is used to communicate with the database. Okay. So basically, if we store the data inside the database, obviously there should be something in between which helps us to communicate with the database, right? There we should use some language. By using some language, we should able to communicate our requirements to the database, right? That is nothing but SQL. SQL is one language which we will use to communicate with the database. Okay. So whatever requirements we are having, we will have in SQL, we will have some syntaxes. We are having so many concepts. We will learn each and every concept very practically. By using SQL language, we will just try to communicate our requirement with the database. Okay. So that is about the main understanding of what is SQL and what is database. Okay. So, and what is MySQL in the sense? SQL is first of all a language which is used worldwide. Like, it is a universal declared language for the communicating with the databases. We will use SQL only. Okay. SQL is one such language. This is a language. And to use this language, obviously, we will use some tools, right? So, like that.
Ma'am, your voice is not audible.
Oh, really? For everyone?
Right now it's audible.
Now it's okay, ma'am.
Okay, just a second. I'll just try to open. I hope I'm clear now.
Yes, ma'am, you're clear.
Okay. So SQL is a language which we will use to communicate with the database, and SQL is this universal declared language. Okay. And we have some tools to deal with the SQL. So that tools is nothing but maybe Oracle SQL. Like that, we're having something called as MySQL. MySQL is also one tool. SQL Server is one tool. Like that, we are having some tools in the market, as you all know, right? Oracle SQL, MySQL, these two are the products from Oracle company. SQL Server is a product from the Microsoft company. Like that, we are having so many tools in the market. So here, to understand this concept, to understand SQL, we are using the tool called as MySQL here. And the reason why we are selecting, why we are using MySQL in the sense, it is an open source platform. Okay, basically this is freely available for everyone. So that is the reason, because of this free availability, most of the companies nowadays are preferring to use MySQL. Okay, that is the reason in our course also we are just trying to learn MySQL. And again, whatever whatever tools I listed here, maybe PostgreSQL or whatever it is, all these tools are almost same. Especially these three tools are almost same, very small, very slight differences. If you learn this MySQL, you can even deal with the SQL Server also. Okay, only very small differences, and whenever I'm explaining I will say what is that differences also. Okay, so this is what we discussed yesterday. Anubhav, I guess I hope I'm clear up to here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Great, perfect. So let's just continue today with today's thing. And today, next concept, as you know, yesterday I shown you the course content, introduction to database and SQL, limitations of Excel. But I'll just pause this concept today. We will discuss this concept later. Today, maybe we will go or we'll continue with the user interface of MySQL Workbench, and we will create some databases and tables today. Okay. So let me just close this and I'll open it once again. Once we are done with demo classes, mostly, by tomorrow, this is our second demo, right? So by tomorrow, if you are interested, please get registered. The demo link will be changed. Okay. So once we are done with the demo classes, I will show you the installation process of MySQL. Okay. So for now, I already have MySQL in my system. I'm just opening that. Once we open that workbench, this is called as MySQL workbench, you can able to see the connection here, that is local instance. We need to click here. Once we open that, once we open it, this is the user interface which we can able to see. Let me just close all my recent files. Okay, so this is the user interface. So at the top, you can see something called as local instance MySQL 8.0 or 80, something like that. This is the version which I am using. So while installing, I will show you very clearly how to install everything. Okay, the installation process. And then the first thing, whatever we are having here, that is called as menu bar. Okay, and this is called as toolbar. Obviously, we'll have some options here, like the same like however we'll have in all the other tools. Okay, so the main important thing, we have something called as navigator here, and below that you can able to see something called as schemas here, right? In the schemas only you can able to see the list of databases available. Okay, these are all the list of databases available in my system. Okay, by default whenever you install, you will have only sys database. Once you create all the databases, you can able to see the list of databases here. Okay, so this is here. First thing, we have two tabs. One is administration tab and schemas. Okay, whenever we install for the first time, after installation we will get into, first whenever we open, we can able to see like this. We will automatically we will be redirected. Once the installation process is done, automatically we will be redirected in this administration page. We need to first click on schemas, then only you can able to see this thing. Okay, by default we will have only sys database. We need to create the databases, then you can able to see the list of databases here. Okay, and first let's try to understand some important things which we will use frequently. Okay, and that is to open a SQL editor. Of course, this is a SQL editor. To open a file, we need to either there are two options. Either we can choose this file. Inside file, we can just click on new query tab. If we use this option is also fine. File and new query tab, we can able to open a new file. You can see SQL file 9. One file is open for me. Or else the shortcut of opening a new file is this one, the first symbol which you can see here. The first icon in toolbar, this one. If I click that directly, automatically a new file will be open for me. Okay, so this is how we will open a new files where we will write a SQL queries. Okay, so here inside the files, I opened a file now. So inside this file we will have some options. The first option is to open a script. Suppose I wrote some SQL queries here. To save that SQL queries in my laptop or in our systems, we will use the second option, that is save button here. Right after writing any SQL queries, if we click on this save button, it will allow us to save this file in our systems. Okay, again, if we want to open already saved files, we need to use this first icon, that is open a file, this folder icon, right? This icon, whatever you see, if I'm just clicking on this folder icon, I can able to open all my SQL files. It will just redirect to the page and we can open the SQL files. Normally how we will open any files from our laptop, right? This is normal save button. This is normal folder option from where we can choose the folders to open. Okay, and the third and important icon is obviously execute button. This third one, this is ignite or execute button. After writing any SQL statements to execute, we will select that SQL statement and we need to click on this third icon, then it will get executed. Okay, so these three options are important for now. And next, yeah, for now this is enough. Going forward, if needed, we will see some more options. Okay, what we have some options here, we will see that later. So yeah, all right, that these options whatever we see, again in the at the bottom you can see here, this is the output section. Once we execute any statements, you can able to see output here. Okay, this is about the basic understanding of user interface, I can say. Okay, so let's just try to create our first database now. Okay, and before creating database, first let me tell you few points here. Okay, first thing, as we know, SQL is nothing but structured query language. Sorry guys, just a second. So SQL is case insensitive. MySQL, okay, MySQL is case insensitive. That is, either I can use uppercase or lowercase, no problem. MySQL is case insensitive. This obviously whatever we write here inside, that is case insensitive. We can use either uppercases or lowercases, no problem. Okay, and we have something called as comments. Okay, what is comments? Basically, in every programming language, if you belongs to IT background, you know what is comments, right? If we are writing, if we want to write something which we don't want to execute, suppose normally I can write any SQL statements, whatever I want to execute, I will write it normally. Correct. So if I want to write any additional points which I don't want to execute, I will write it inside the comments. Okay, that is what comment means. The whatever we will write inside comments, that will be non-executable. Okay, and the symbols which we will use here for writing comments is, as you can see, I used a symbol like this, two hyphens, right? That is nothing but comments. Why I'm using comments here? Because I'm just writing some points or notes here. I don't want this is not an SQL query, I don't want this to execute. That is the reason I'm using comments here. So in MySQL, obviously like any other languages, we will have either single line comments and multi-line comments, right? Guys, anywhere if you don't understand anything, please stop me and ask me. Okay, let's please keep the session interactive. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. So single line comments and multi-line comments. That is, in single line, if you are writing any comment, that is called as single line comments. If we are writing any comments in multiple lines, then we will call it as multi-line comments. The symbols used for single line comments are either this one, whatever I used just now, or else, let me just remove this, it will, or else you will confuse. Okay, single line comment symbols are either this one, two hyphens, or else hash. Simply I can use hash also as a single line comment. If I write hash also, that will become comment only. Okay, as a single line comment. Okay, next, multi-line comments. To display multi-line comments, what we will use, we will use like this. Like normally in other, let me write bottom. Here we can write anything, and I'm closing this, sorry. This is the starting of the multi-line comments, this is the ending, I mean this is the start, and this is the close of multi-line comments. In between I can write any multiple lines. Okay, so this is how we will use comments, and this is about single line and multi-line comments. And this dots indicates, obviously I'm writing something here. This is something like this. If I wanted to store as some multiple lines inside a comments, we will use the symbols like this. Okay, so this is some basic points which we need to know, or which we need to understand before starting, or before starting any other things. So I hope I'm clear about the comments, single line and multi-line.
Yes. Basically, with the hyphen and hash, we can comment the line 5.
Yes, this is for single line comments. Either we can use this one or hash, anything is fine.
Okay. Got it.
Here I used two hyphens, here I used hash, right? Anything is
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Multi-line comments is this one. Okay, so this is about the comments. And I said one more point, that is MySQL is case insensitive, right? So next, one more point, let me just mention here only, in MySQL, semicolon is optional. Okay, that is, we'll have semicolon here. Basically in SQL language, we will use semicolon as, let me use, we will use a semicolon as the end of the statement. Okay, in many of the tools, maybe in Oracle, a SQL, previously we used to use in SQL Server also. In so many tools we will use semicolon as a delimiter. Basically we'll call the term as a delimiter. Let's not discuss about that now. We will see about the delimiter concept in stored procedures whenever we discuss that. But for now, just try to understand, in some tools we will use semicolon at the end. Once we done with any SQL statement, previously we used to use semicolon, and whenever we execute that statement, okay, if there is semicolon only, if we mention semicolon at the end only, SQL used to understand that is the end of that SQL query. But nowadays this is, this became optional. In MySQL also semicolon is optional. If we semicolon is optional, this, okay, if we use semicolon also no problem, if we don't use semicolon also no problem, to end the SQL statement. Okay, so that is one more point. So up to here some basic points actually. Now let's try to create our first database. So let's create a database. Okay, so let me create the database. And the syntax, we will have something called as syntaxes in SQL language. That is nothing but syntaxes, in the sense I can say some rules, I can say. We will follow some syntaxes for each and every concept. We need to follow that syntax to I mean we need to follow that particular syntaxes or rules only for each and every concept. Okay, for creating database, we'll call that term as syntax. For everything we'll have some syntaxes, and we'll write the code or logic according as per the syntaxes only. Okay, so for creating the database, the syntax will be, let me write here only, create database, database name. Am I going fast, guys? Let me just slow down. So the syntax is create database, database name is the syntax for creating the database. Okay, so let's create a database. Just give me a second. So maybe what name we will give? Create database. I'll just give the database name as SQL 8 p.m. batch, right? Something like that. Normally I'm just trying to create one database name, and here whatever database names we will use, that should be unique. Already if we are having the same database name, it won't accept. So every time we need to use a different database names. Okay, so I'm just trying to give this for this batch, the basic database name is SQL 8. Just let's try to keep the name like that. Okay, so this is some database name. I'm writing it as create database. Database name is the syntax for creating the database. Okay, so I'll just select this, and I need to execute by clicking this icon here, the third option. Okay, I just executed. If you can see at the in the output section at the bottom, let me just, in the output section you can see create database, one row affected, and green color some tick mark we got. If we get any errors, we can see red color cross mark. If the sequence, if the not sequence, sorry, if that statement is of the syntax, or if the statements are executed successfully, we can able to see this symbol. Okay, now the database is created. So now let's check, this is the database which we created just now. So to get this database name in this list, we need to once refresh the schemas. You can see here we have schemas, here we have a refresh option, right? Let me just refresh this. You can now see I got the name here, SQL 8, right? Like that, whatever, once we create the database, we can able to see that database name in this list after refreshing. Okay, so SQL 8, I got it now. If I'm expanding this, in every database we'll have 4 sections: tables, views, stored procedures, and functions. Okay, for now let's concentrate on tables. Going forward we will see the remaining concepts also. Okay, so SQL 8 is the database. Okay, so now I created the database. Now we need to actually activate the database. Once after creating the database, or daily whenever we are using any database, we need to activate the database. Because here you can see I'm having so many databases. Okay, this much a list I'm having, so many databases I'm having. Suppose if I execute any SQL query here, okay, any syntax here, SQL will get confused, especially in MySQL. Every time whenever we are started using any creating or selecting whatever it is, whenever we are started using the syntaxes, or whenever we are started whenever we start doing, I can say whenever we start working on the databases, first we need to activate the database. Okay, then only SQL won't get confused. If I simply write one statement here, SQL will get confused that to what database it should use to save that or to execute that particular query. Okay, so to avoid that confusion, every time we need to activate the database, especially in learning purpose. In learning process we will have multiple databases, right? So we need to first activate the database. Maybe in real time we will only connect to our client's data. At that time, in order of activating the database, here I'm having this much this many databases. So just to make clarity, just to avoid confusion, normally let's just see, if I just write any statement normally here, suppose let's go with the flow without explaining any of the queries. I don't want to execute any queries. Going forward we will see, without activating, if I execute any SQL query, it will throw us error. My SQL will throw us errors stating no database selected. Okay, so that is one thing here. We need to activate the database every time. So to activate the database, we will use command. We'll have something called as use command. Use it to activate the database. Okay, I'm writing like this. This is a database. Okay, and the syntax for activating the database is simply use db name. Okay, so let me write it as use. What is our database name? SQL 8. Right, I'll write like this. I'll select and I'll execute. You can see immediately after executing whatever this database, it got highlighted here, right? The color is also changed. Correct. Remaining databases are in light color, and this particular database we can see that it went into dark bold color. Correct. So like that, first we need to activate the database, then only SQL will understand we are going to use this database now. After activating, we can execute any queries. Whatever queries we will execute, that queries will be executed or saved in this database only. Okay, I hope I'm clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Ma'am,
So
SQL is a kind of compiling or interpreted, means what internally it is doing, ma'am.
what was your last sentence?
Ma'am, what internally means it is doing, like it is compiling or interpreting or how it is converting. Means whatever clearing, we are writing a query. Is how it is interpreting, ma'am.
Obviously it will whatever queries we will write after executing, basically it will deal with the databases only. Here compiling in the sense, again we are using some tools here. Okay, by default everything in the database. Suppose by using command prompt also, we will just connect to the database and we can execute all the queries. So either by using command prompt we can do that, or either by using any of the tools, SQL tools. So here we are just dealing with MySQL tool. So all this syntaxes are already designed. We have some concepts here. All the syntaxes are already designed. So whenever we want to use something, we will just, as I said, inside the database, we will just store the table, store the all the data. Okay, collectively we will store the data inside the databases. Again, inside the database, we will create tables, and inside the tables, we will store the data. So all these commands, whatever we are using, or all going forward, all the concepts, whatever we will use, we will just trying to deal with the database according to our requirements.
Got it.
Okay. I hope that is what you asked me.
Yes, ma'am, exactly, sir.
Yeah, perfect. So I can see some more students also. I think Parag Kulkarni, can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Hi.
Uh,
Could you please tell me about a little bit about yourself? Like,
Yeah, sure. So basically, I'm having 3.6 years of experience in Angular as well as Node.js. So I have to learn the database. So that's
okay,
why.
okay, fine. I got it. Thank you, Kulkarni.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, all right. That is what actually I can say. SQL is a backbone for complete IT industry. Whatever the domain is, whether it is data science, full stack, testing, whatever it is, everywhere, whether it may be PeopleSoft, whether it may be NetSuite, whatever it is, in every domain, in every role, we will use SQL as common subject, right? So that is the reason we need to learn SQL in a very proper and you know in a practical way, so that we will get some hands-on experience, and we will, then only we can able to use all the concepts of SQL wherever we go, right? So okay, so let's continue. We created our database, we activated our database, right? Let's just create a table now. So as I said, first we will just to store the data. Okay, so going forward I will explain you the concept of limitations of Excel also, then you will understand what is the need of database. Actually in Excel also we can save the data, right? But we are having, suppose you can see here, I am having something called as some table like this. This is some order, I can say some order details we are having in this table. So by using this example only, I will explain you what is the limitations of Excel and why we need databases going forward. Okay, so we're having some limitations here. So due to that only databases came into existence. Basically, we will store the data collectively in the form of databases. In the databases, we will create some tables, and inside the tables, we will store the data. Okay, so now we created a database. Let's create a table. Okay, so obviously for creating table also we will have one syntax. So let me just write a syntax. Let me use Excel file for now. Once maybe I'll use, suppose first, for the first table let's create employees table. Okay, so as I said, we will store the data inside the table. Sub employees will be our table name, and let's use some columns here. Employee ID, if I wanted to store some employee details in employee table, I will write like this, maybe employee ID, employee name, salary, date of joining. Just a second. Okay, something like this. So this is the table name. This are the four column names which we are going to store inside this data, inside this table, and we need to enter some data in it. Maybe some random data I'm entering here. Okay, date of joining also some randomly I'm entering like that. Suppose I can enter any rows of data I want, the second row, third row, like that. So this will be my table name. This will be my column name. Employee ID will be my column. Horizontal lines are called as rows. Basically, this is one row or record. We will also call it as record. This is called as columns. Employee ID, employee name, salary, date of joining will be our columns. This will be our data. First, we need to create the table. Whenever we are creating the table, we will create columns as well. Okay, we will create columns as well. By creating the columns only, we will first get the structure of the table. After creating the table, we will insert the data into the table. Okay, so let's see that in the by using the workbench. So I'm creating a table, and the syntax of create table is create table, table name. Let me write syntax first. Okay, then I will use parenthesis, that is brackets. Inside the brackets, I will use column names, maybe column 1. Okay, we will have one concept called as data types here. I will explain you that also, why we will use data types. Next, column 2, data type. Like that, we can create multiple columns. Okay, this is how we will create a table. Okay, table name, inside the table we will create column. For every column we will have data types. Okay, so what is data type in the sense, first let's just try to understand what is data type, and then we will come back to this create table syntax. Okay, so for that let me again open this thing. First, usually I'll first only explain limitations of Excel, and then I'll come to this create table kind of thing, or whatever we are dealing with today's class. But for now what I will do, as I said, going forward maybe in a couple of classes I will explain the limitations of Excel. In this, all in out of all the limitations, we are having one limitation called as data consistency. Okay, we have something called as data consistency. For example, this is how I store data in the Excel file, right? We are having so many limitations here. One such limitation is that data consistency. Okay, that means if suppose I enter any data, in any of this column randomly. Suppose for price column, we know in price column we need to have you're already we need to have some numbers only, right? Price in the sense obviously numbers we will have, and if instead of numbers, if accidentally or if suppose suddenly I entered something like hi, hello kind of thing, anything, any text if I entered, Excel is allowing me to do so, right? Excel won't is not stopping me to enter any irrelevant data or any wrong data. Correct? Excel is not stopping me. Whatever I enter anywhere, whatever I enter anything randomly, it will just allow me. It is not throwing me any error. This is one of the major drawback of Excel. By because of these issues, we will obviously do some mistakes, right? Obviously, because of these issues only, we will get so many human errors. Correct? So whenever we are dealing with the big data, whenever we are dealing with any kind of data, like if we are storing the data, we should have one such system. We should have a system that whenever if we enter some wrong data or irrelevant data, our system should be such robust that it should throw us an error and it should let us know that we are entering some wrong data. Here in Excel files, whatever data I enter, it will just accept, right? That is one of the major drawback of Excel. Okay, so to like this, we are having some 4 5 drawbacks or limitations which we will discuss going forward. This is one of the limitation. Okay, so this limitation or this problem is solved by using because of this limitations or problems only, databases came into existence. Okay, because previously we used to deal with only small data, correct? But from so many years we are just we are dealing with a big data, and whenever we are dealing, as you know, however we are going forward with all the inventions, and however we are just going forward with all the technologies, as our data generation is increased, we will just, as we are having so many problems or so many drawbacks within the excels or any file formats, databases came into existence. Okay, whatever problems we faced previously, all those problems we got solutions for those problems by using databases. Okay, so that is the reason, as all those problems are solved by using databases one such system by using which we can maintain our data, we can store our data in a perfect manner, in a safe manner, in a robust manner. So for such reasons, we are using databases everywhere in every company, whatever domain it is, whatever role it is, whatever irrespective of the companies, everyone is storing the data in the databases only due to the special features. Okay, one such problem which we faced in Excel is data consistency, and to get rid of that problem, while creating in databases, as I said, we will store the data in the form of tables, right? So while creating columns, we will use a something called as data types, where I used, suppose while defining columns itself, while creating tables, I will define column names, right? While giving the column names itself, we will use something called as data types. We will define data types for each and every column names here. Okay, this data type is nothing but what we have some data types in SQL. Next class, I mean in the continuation class, we will discuss what are all the types of data types are there in SQL. uh, of course, maybe today only, just now we will discuss what are all the data types we have. So we have some data types in SQL. Okay, so that data types basically how what is data type in the sense, this data type, whatever data type we use, that data type only will define what type of data we can enter in that particular column. Okay, suppose as I said just now, in salary we will enter numbers only, right? In Excel file, if we are entering something also, it is allowing me to enter. So while creating tables in databases, we will give some data types here. According to that data type, that particular value only we need to enter. If we enter any other data, it will throw us error. Okay, that is called as data types. Okay, am I clear, guys? About
Yes,
data
ma'am.
type?
Ma'am, is consistent same as data redundancy?
Yes, same. Data consistency and data redundancy is same.
All right.
Data redundancy is actually the repetitive of data. Okay, Data consistency and data integrity is one such concept which allow us to enter some, particular correct data. Okay, data redundancy in the sense repetition of the data. Here you can see some data is repeating again and again, right? So if the data is repeating again and again, we will just call it as data redundancy. All these concepts we will discuss in the limitations of Excel. Okay, don't worry for now. Data redundancy, data integrity, data consistency, all these concepts we will discuss detailedly in that limitations of Excel class. Okay,
All right.
so for now we are just trying to create our table, and this is about the data types. So let's just try to create a table now. So create table, maybe employees. So inside the employees table, I'm just trying to enter the same data, that is employee ID, employee name, the same columns. So I'll use employee ID as a column. For employee ID, I'm giving the data type as int. I'll just show you once the create table syntax, and then I'll explain you what is this data types. Okay, so employee name, next column is employee name. For character data, we will use basically varchar, and whenever we are using character data, we will define size also. I will explain everything very clearly in a while. So first employee ID, employee name, next salary. For salary, maybe I'll give float, and date of joining. For date of joining, I'll give date data type. Okay, like this we are having some data types. Okay, we will discuss that also just now. So this is how we will create a table. First of all, create table name. Inside, after writing or after mentioning the table name, we will use parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, we will use column names and the data types like this. Okay, so this is the syntax of creating table. I'll just select this, I'll execute. Then you can see our table got created. Okay, just we can also view whatever table name we created. We can see that table name here inside the tables option. So to do that, to reflect that, we need to refresh here. I'm just refreshing this. We have refresh icon here beside schemas. I'm refreshing here. So this is the database name. Inside we are having tables, and now I can expand these tables, and I got employees table name here, right? If I'm just clicking the table name here in MySQL, it is just showing me the column names also at the bottom. Employee ID column names, whatever column names I'm having and whatever data types I define, every detail is displaying here at the bottom, right? So now we created our first table. Okay, so we need to insert the data, but before inserting data, let's just try to understand the data types first. Okay, first we will finish understanding the data types, then we will insert the data, and we will display the data. So what do you want me to do? Well, do you want me to explain data types, or do you want me to show insert and display options first? Anyone?
Sorry,
Anything
ma'am.
is
Ma'am, insert and show the things.
Okay, let's go with that in a flow. Let me insert and let me display the output. Then after that, I will explain the data types. Okay, so we created our table, first table. Let's insert some data now. Again, for inserting some data, we will use insert command. This is again, create is one command which we will use to create the table. Okay, next we are having a concept called as SQL sublanguages. In the SQL sublanguages, we are having all these types. Okay, at that time, for each and every sublanguage, we are having all the commands. Once again, we will in this particular concept, we will discuss all the commands detailing. Okay, so create is one command, insert is another command which is used to insert the data. Okay, so the syntax for using insert command is insert into, we need to use a keyword called as into, table name, I'm directly writing the example here. Insert into table name. Values, we need to use a keyword called as values, and then within the parenthesis I will enter the data in the same order how I gave the column names. The first one I gave employee ID, right? So I'm just entering employee ID as 1. I'm using a comma here, that is separator, comma. Next, employee name. I'm for all the character data, okay, all the character data we will store inside quotes, whether it is single quotes or double quotes, no problem. So maybe I'll enter the name as Ram. So all the character data we need to write like this inside the quotes only. And the third is salary, obviously number. Again, maybe I will use 50,000. Float in the sense it will also allow decimal values, okay. I will explain you in a while. Next, date of joining. All the date values also we need to store inside the codes only. Only numbers we will store normally, whether it is character data or whether it is date values, data type data, we will use inside quotes only. And the format here we need to use is, for entering the date values, the format we need to use is, inside the quotes we need to write y, like first year, then month, then date, okay. This format only we need to use in MySQL, okay. So let me write it like 2021 maybe, next month, next date, okay, like this. Now this is my first row data, okay. Within the first row data also, here the same sequence obviously we will use. And if I write like this, whenever I execute, SQL will understand whatever I wrote inside the brackets or parentheses, that will be this data. If I use a separator here, this will be my first column data, this will be my second column data, likewise it will understand. Once I close the bracket, that means this is the first row data is done. Next, to enter the second row data, again I will use a separator, comma. Again I'll use the same parenthesis and I will enter my second row data, okay. So maybe randomly I'm entering some data like this. Either we can use anywhere we want, we can use in second row, continuously, wherever we want. However we write, we can write like this, okay. So I entered 2 rows here. Just let me quickly add 2 more rows so that going forward it will be easy for us to. Yes, Prashant, do you have any doubts?
Yes, ma'am. The column
please.
values can be separated using the commas, is it?
Yes, column values is separated by using commas within the brackets.
Yeah.
After brackets, if I use separator, then that is I am that it means that I'm separating rows here. The first row of data is this one, next a comma, then second row of data is this one. Within the brackets, if I'm using a separator, that means I'm separating column values, right?
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Here I didn't. So
Hi
I
Divya.
entered. Yes, please.
Can we change the format of this date?
No, this is fixed for MySQL. We can't, I mean, if you want to change the formats, if you want to change any date, we have one concept called as functions. In
mm,
SQL functions, we'll have some date functions. There we will learn about some concepts, how we can deal with the functions. Like if you want to extract something, if you want to, we have some functions, inbuilt functions in SQL. We can do some sort of things by using that concept, okay. We will learn all the functions, some functions at that time. Normally whenever we are creating or we are inserting the data, we need to definitely use this format only for MySQL,
okay.
okay.
So one more question, like basically
please.
if you wanted multiple datas, like we need to insert like this only, and then if you want different sort of date format, we can use function itself. That's it, correct?
Yeah, yeah, we can use functions and we can update that particular thing inside this table also
Yeah.
by using that functions. Okay. So let me just insert this. I mean, I'll just select this and I'll execute this. You can see the data got inserted. If I did any mistake, it will just throw me error. Suppose previously I forgot writing this date, right? If without seeing if I execute this, it will throw me as this is syntax error. It will just show me like a kind of syntax error. Okay. So going forward, we will see all the errors and we will discuss with the about the errors also. Okay. So now my data is inserted. So to display the data, next we will use select command. We'll have one more command called as select, which is used to display the data. Okay. So the syntax is select star from table name. Okay. If I use star, we will also call it as asterisk. Either we will technically we will call this star as asterisk or else star, no problem. We can call anything, it's okay. So basically we will call this as asterisk. So whenever we use star or asterisk, that means we are displaying complete data. Okay, if whenever we want to display complete data, we will use star like this. If we want to display any particular data, we will use column names. Okay, let's see that. Let me display the complete data. Select star from employees, right? I'm just selecting, I'm executing. This is my data. You can see this is my output, right? Employees is my table name, employee ID, employee name, salary, and date of joining. 4 columns we created, 4 rows we created, right? Whenever we use asterisk or star, we will display the complete data. If I only want some particular data, like if I only want employee name, I'll use that particular column name. Select employee name from employees. As you can see, as I said, starting only, SQL is case insensitive. I can use small letter also, no problem. Here I use capital letter. If I use small lowercase also, no problem. Okay. It is case insensitive. We can use upper cases or lower cases, no problem. Okay. So select employee name, that is e name from employees. If we want to see any particular column data, we will write that particular column name like this. It will just display that particular data. Okay. I can just close this output by clicking on this cross mark. So this is about creating the table, inserting the data, and displaying the data. I hope I'm clear till here.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Next, I need to explain detailedly about the data types. What are all the data types we have? Just quickly let me show you. And before that, let me quickly show you the course content. As you know, in this course, the course duration is of 35 days and the course fees is of 3,000. Okay, so please get registered if you are interested. We will done with our demo classes and you will get a new link. Okay, new link to your emails, and whoever get registered, for them they will send an email. Okay. So this is our course content, and in this course content, like first introduction to database and SQL, limitations of Excel, creation of database and tables, MySQL installation, data types in SQL, SQL commands and sublanguages. We are having different sublanguages, and in each of the sublanguage will have some comments. We'll have some comments. We will discuss everything detailedly. Next, integrity constraints like primary key, foreign key, all those keys comes under this integrity constraints. Up to here I will use some basic tables only. Then Going forward, all the main concepts or advanced concepts, the actual concepts, we will learn by using one real-time database, that is movies database. This is a kind of OTT platforms database we can understand, or else it's a kind of a movies database where by using this, I'll give you this databases, you can just download, and I will show you how to, basically use that database in your system. And all the concepts I will explain by using this database only, very practically. Okay, I believe because SQL is one such important concept, we need to have hands-on experience in SQL, then only we can apply all the concepts wherever needed, right? So this are all some important concepts. Like first we have something called as SQL clauses and operators. These two clauses and operators are related concept. So I will explain all these points, whatever I mentioned here. I will explain that concepts relate. Parallelly, I will explain the clauses and operators like where clause, order by clause, SQL basic operators, and not, range operator, membership operator, distinct clause, limit clause, like operator, whatever wildcards we are having in the like operator, everything we will discuss very detailedly along with the examples. Next, we are having some functions, numerical function, character functions, date and aggregate functions. In this are some types of functions. In this, we are having some inbuilt functions. We will discuss all the functions. In each of type of function, we are having some functions. We will discuss all those functions detailing. Next main important concept, that is joins, obviously. So I believe the most important concept of SQL is joins, right? Mostly we will work on joins only wherever we go. So we'll discuss each type of join very detailedly by solving many examples. Okay, and not only whatever examples we discussed in the class. Additionally, I will give some assignment questions also, that is kind of a practice questions for you. You can just solve those questions for your practice purpose, and if you have any doubts, I will discuss them in the class also. Okay, then regular expressions, anchors in regular expressions, especially this concept is useful for data science and full stack development people. So by like operator and regular expression, by using this, we will just try to display, or we will just try to find the pattern of the data. Okay, then group by clause, having clause, aggregations inside group by clause. Next, subqueries concept, we are having two types of subqueries. Next, normalization, denormalization, all the normal forms which we have, ER diagrams, views, indexes, temporary tables, CTEs, store procedure, window functions. Yes, these are all some more uh, important topics, I can say, right? How, by using each and every concept, what is the use of using all these concepts also, we will discuss detailing. CTEs, in the sense, common table expression, store procedure, like this, all the concepts along with the Windows functions also, I will explain. This is my course content. At the end, we will discuss interview questions. Okay. Course duration is of 35 days. And as I said, we will provide video access for 6 months, live video classes, and along with that I will give you notes. And as I said, I believe in providing notes. In yesterday's class also I explained whatever concept it is, I will just upload this Excel file only. Okay, which platform we will use for practice. You need to install, I will show you the MySQL workbench installation. There is no such website for us to, which you can use for practicing purpose, but I will show you how to install the workbench, and whatever examples I will explain here, you can practice on your own in your systems. Additionally, along with this, we'll have some more online platforms, right? Like hacker rank, lead code. I'll just show you. Most of you will already know about those things. You can even practice on those websites also. Okay, so I'll give notes in this way only. All the SQL files only I will upload, where I will give you each and every concept. I will explain with the examples. Okay. And here only whatever notes is there, I will write the notes very clearly, and then our questions will be there, syntaxes will be there. Like this, I will provide you the notes. Okay. See, like this. I don't believe in providing all the theory notes. So I'll just upload the SQL files like this. In detail, you will have all the theory concepts and practical concepts in one go. Okay. So this is about the course details. Remaining concepts, let's just continue in tomorrow's class. If you are interested, just get registered with us. Any other questions, guys? We're almost
Ma'am,
done with the time. Yes, Anubhav?
ma'am, as a fresher, ma'am,
Mhm.
MongoDB is required, or means it is recommendable to run MongoDB because it's a NoSQL database.
NoSQL database. Yeah, nowadays we are having so many drawbacks in MongoDB, and it is not being used in real time. You can even check online. Previously, I mean, like 3 years back, maybe some couple of years back, that some companies they tried to use MongoDB, but again, NoSQL, by using NoSQL also, we are getting so many problems. We are facing so many problems in NoSQL. The data won't be saved in a sequential order, in a relative order. Here and there the data will be stored, and we are having so many complications with that. So yeah, SQL is different, NoSQL is different, obviously. Again, it's again depends upon your own field which you are working on. As a fresher, I recommend no need of for freshers especially, no need of learning NoSQL. Just learn SQL very practically. Along with that, according to your interest, choose any field and learn any other subjects accordingly, or else only with the SQL also you can just get a fresher job very easily.
Yeah, got it, ma'am. One more thing, ma'am, means I'm learning MySQL here, and
Mhm.
it means I'm asking that it is recommendable to learn Python development for a fresher, like means in a market all are learning only Java development, and means lots of students or lots of my friend as currently know in Durga sir, NagoorBabu
Mhm. Yes.
Java. Sir, is it recommendable? Sorry, ma'am, it is recommendable to learn Python development as a fresher because yeah, ma'am, I want to know because
Yeah, actually, to be frank, it's again our own, perspective and our own way how to think and how to deal with the things. For complete fresher, as you are saying, you are just a pass out of 2024. To be frank, to be as I'm saying, I will also teach Python, Tableau, all these things. Again, it's up to you which field you need to choose. Whether you are interested in data science field, whether you are interested in Java development field, full stack, like that, you need to choose fields. Okay, again, that when you had to choose fields, once you have some kind of gap or some kind of xp, I mean, if you wanted to, guys, I'm so sorry, we are done with the time, and in the same link we'll having a next class. Admin people are calling continuously. Anubhav, please don't mind, I'll answer to you about this in the tomorrow's class. Is that okay?
no issue, ma'am.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Sorry for that. Let's meet tomorrow.